Welcome back to the Build Local podcast, where here we are educating, inspiring, and connecting small business owners and entrepreneurs with real stories of struggle and success, because we have all of that in the midst of running our own business. And so my name is Scott. I am the owner of Visual Element Media, and I'm one of the co-hosts here on the Build Local podcast. And as always, I am joined by my good friend, Chris Kansky. Chris, thank you again for co-hosting with me.
Absolutely. Very excited about it. Like Scott said, my name is Chris Kansky. I'm the owner of New Pillar Marketing here in New Concord, Ohio. And I'm very excited about our guest today. His name is Daniel Jennings. He is the owner of Jennings Java, and they are a coffee roaster out of Columbus, Ohio. And I have sampled their works many times. They make a great product. And I'm excited to talk to Daniel and hear a little bit about his story today. So how you doing, Daniel?
Yeah, well, thanks for having us today.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for being here. So yeah, just give us a little bit of the rundown on your story and the company. And
yeah, so what we are as Jennings Java, we're a coffee roaster, as you said, based out of Columbus, Ohio. We actually started about 4 years ago over at Muskegon University, so just about 80 miles east of Columbus. That was where I met my business partner, AJ, and we founded the business back in 2016. It's kind of funny to look back at us starting that business our freshman year of college, just from the aspect of we had so much to learn at that stage. But we got started due to a university professor we had over there. His name was Gary Golden. And he had this program that's called the Ignition Program. And what that did was basically get everyone who had maybe an entrepreneurial idea or already had a business to meet other people who had the tools. So as you learn, quite frankly, as a business owner, you are not expert in all things. And so my specialty tended to be on the coffee side of things. And AJ Kazmerzak, my business partner, came along the lines that really helped build the brand off of the other aspects of like marketing, using social media, which is really quite important for especially a college-based company at the time. And so we started in 2016, and the week after I graduated college, moved over to Columbus, and have been kind of cruising along ever since.
That is awesome. Can you talk a little bit about the struggle of coming up with an idea like this and then launching it while you're still in school and thinking through kind of that process?
I was quite nervous at the time of how am I going to balance my workload, basically. I was a college soccer player at the time as well. Was also doing about 15 to 18 credit hours, and quite frankly, wasn't really certain that it was a good idea when I initially was thinking about starting the business. I'm like, maybe I should just wait till after I graduated. Was the initial plan before this Ignition program really came up. I was going to wait till I got my degree, and then I'm like, this is a great time. I'll have my degree. I'll be well equipped to start a business then. And so one of the things that you learn quite often is there's never a time like the present to start a business. And so my professors were really recommending that I start the business in college. And I'm so grateful that I did, due to the aspect of time management is never going to get any easier. You're always going to have a hectic schedule. And so I think it was part of the struggles early on in my career in college and as a business owner, was learning to balance the schedules, but it really kind of ingrained a discipline in me that I think has really helped us out after I graduated college.
And, as I think you touched on something really important there. It's that if you wait for the perfect time to start a business, or even after the business is started, if you try to wait till the product is perfect or the service is perfect, it's just never going to happen. The best way to do it sometimes is just to move forward, and you learn and you grow and you adapt, with time, over time. So
certainly, especially that learning aspect was a key thing for us. One of the things that we always tell people when talking about our first 4 years and starting the business is the aspect of we made a lot of mistakes early on when we were a small business. And I think the unique thing about growing slowly in those first 4 years, as you can imagine, you can only grow a company so far when you're also getting a degree. And so we made so many mistakes that I'm glad that we made on that level. For example, right now, if we made some of those mistakes as a roaster, we'd lose some very important clients. So we kind of made those mistakes small before we had those really big clients, and made sure we didn't make those mistakes as we grew again, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way to do it. That's very smart. So yeah, so I mean, we know one of our core values, or the things that we like to talk about here, is business is full of triumphs, but it's also full of struggles. So can you tell us about a time when maybe, I don't know, you weren't sure if you could do this anymore, you weren't sure, what to do, and how you made it through that?
Yeah, certainly. So it's funny because I definitely can't recall a time where I ever felt like, oh, I want to just punch in and quit basically the business. I've always, and I think that's been the important thing for me, is I've always had this passion for coffee. And so I'm extremely grateful every morning when I wake up and get to go to work and do something that I really enjoy doing. But that being said, when you have a passion for something, there's still the tedious side of things and the work side of things as well, which can take a toll. Quite frankly, it's most recently that gave us our biggest scare. I was thinking back from different times, and there's been times that we've been worn out, but I can't think of anything quite like what the last 3 weeks has been for us. So as many of you know, with everything going on currently with the coronavirus and COVID-19, roughly 3 weeks ago, we got the news that all restaurants were to shut down basically in-house dining. And our target market as a brand so far has really been higher end fancy restaurants to wholesale to. So we got that news on a Sunday night, and by no means were we thinking, oh, we're going to quit, but it was a very scary time for us from the aspect of we don't know what the future is going to hold for us. And you do start to have those thoughts of, should I start looking for different sources of income? Should I start looking for a different job? Is this kind of the time where maybe we won't get through it as a small business? And there wasn't much time to think about those thoughts. So AJ and I sat down on that Sunday night, and it was one of the more demure conversations we've had. It was like we were kind of sitting there and just not saying much, and then we were like, this is an AJ and I style. We're very outgoing, energetic people, always fueled on caffeine. And so within that same night, we were like, okay, we're going to figure out what to do next. And so one of the things that we learned, quite frankly, is in these times, you can either fold as a business or you can increase your market share. And so our retail brand, which doesn't make up much of our business, but is growing now, we started to really focus on, because that's all we could do to survive at the time. And so it's been really interesting those last 3 weeks to see how we kind of have had to adjust and use a little bit more creativity to get by. So what we're doing now is, like many other companies, restaurants and stuff, is actually door deliveries. And one of the ways that we kind of tried to make ourselves a little more unique in that is trying to make sure we're staying in shape as well. So we're actually on a bicycle cycling around door deliveries with a little cart full of caffeine in the bags.
I love that idea. And what you said rings so true. In any circumstance, whether it's a feast market or a barren market, there is one thing that's consistent, and that is people's needs. And so if you can figure out how your business solves a need that people have, you can see yourself really start to take advantage and grow in those market shares like you were talking about. And so kudos to you for figuring that out. So now I want to move, a lot has happened apparently in 4 years for you. You talked a little bit about some of the trials, especially the more recent ones, but, what would you say is probably a moment that sticks out where, and maybe you didn't realize it in the moment, but maybe it's something that you can look back on and say, that was a moment that I'm really, really proud of?
So it's funny because we try to focus as we're growing on looking to the past and not just always focusing on the future, to kind of see, hey, we have been growing, and making sure we're kind of seeing growth continually happen. And so we always joke that I started out with a 1 pound roaster. And so we were like, oh, we made it once we got a 5-pound roaster. And then we started getting in more raw coffee, and I started getting in sacks of raw coffee at 20 pounds. And we're like, oh, we are big shots now. We are going to take over the world roasting coffee. And that kept going until we started getting, now we are getting roughly about 1,000 to 2,000 pounds of coffee per month. And so you can imagine that's just fun to look at those 4 years and how that kind of grew. But really something, like you said too, it's maybe something I didn't realize at the time, how blessed we were to kind of get to this stage. But I graduated from Muskingum University back in 2019, so just about a year ago, not even a year ago yet. And the week before we were basically packing up my dorm room, we were actually moving all of the coffee equipment into our current location down near German Village in Columbus, Ohio. And at the time I knew it was cool, but it's just like such a unique opportunity for a small business owner to be able to, before he's even got his degree, already have a location ready to go. So I basically was, during my finals week, the last week of college, I was commuting from Columbus every day because my office now actually was in Columbus, Ohio. So, and we really fallen in love with the community over here in Columbus. We're in an area that's really quite unique from the aspect of people really do care about their coffee. And so we've just really been happy and excited for the future to grow in this community.
I have been really inspired, Daniel, to see how you guys have, I mean, first of all, to hear your story, you know, that you took something that was just a personal passion for you and you just really dove into it. And you did that at a very young age, you know, when, you know, I've wanted to start a business for a long time, and I'm 34 and I'm just getting around to it, you know, so it's very inspiring, and it's inspiring to see how you guys have responded to the current crisis as well, with creativity and with energy. And yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, what somebody that maybe is in college and has a passion like this and is thinking about maybe starting a business, or even somebody that's older, what advice would you give them?
Yeah.
You need to know.
So that's always an interesting question, because I've been given so much advice as well. So lots of times the advice I'm passing along is exactly what I'm doing. I'm still seeking out advice from business owners that I look up to. And so the first thing, there's probably a lot that goes into the advice that I would give to other people. The first thing is ask lots of questions. I think there's so much knowledge to be obtained when you ask someone a question. And keep asking questions, keep probing, and most people will be willing to talk. And so kind of that aspect of really trying to ask as many questions as possible whenever you're around someone that you can gain knowledge from. And there's plenty of those people that you'll come across as you start your business. Some other things that I really recommend, as we were talking about earlier, is start your business. Don't keep pushing it off. There's always going to be struggles with starting a business, and focus on the big goals. Write down your goals and focus on everything from the small tasks to the big goals, and write them down. Writing them down is super important to make sure you're actually staying organized with it. But AG and I, my business partner, have a really good balance, because he is a very big picture person. I'm a small kind of nitty ditty detailed person. And so that kind of balances each other out. But one of the things when you're starting your business is start with a bunch of little tasks, because that big goal that you have in the future is going to look very intimidating, but you don't get there until you just see a bunch of little tasks that you need to do to get that business off the ground. And then lastly is really focus on the customer interaction side of things. All businesses normally involve customers and clients, and so take care of those people. And that's been the biggest thing for us, is the aspect of, it's very important to make sure that we keep our customers happy, and basically making sure that our customer support, I know it sounds kind of stereotypical, but the customer support has to be subpar, or not subpar, but you know what I mean, basically the best customer support that you can be given, just from the aspect of put yourself in their shoes and ask, what are they looking for, or what would I be looking for as a customer?
That's so true. I mean, I started my company whenever I was 18, and, I was very naive whenever I got into it, because you think you have this idea that's so new and so bold and fresh. And really it may be somewhat true, but a lot of this stuff is just, things that people have already done. And what sets you apart is your attitude and your perspective, how you do work with customers and how you do, that supply chain of, command. And so I think what we're realizing, especially in this day and age, is yes, you may roast coffee for your primary income, but that is supported by your customer service and your outreach or your marketing or communications, whatever you want to call it. And so, we always tell our clients, you're not just a coffee roasting company, you're a customer service company and you're a production company, because you need to be able to communicate with people. And I think, especially in this kind of environment, where we're all locked at home, I think companies are really starting to see that. And so I want to commend you again on already starting to see that, in your business. And so how do you manage your time? It's great that you do have a business partner, but how do you manage your time and delegate and decide who manages what responsibilities?
Delegation is something that all business owners, I think, struggle with. Your business is your baby. And it's been something for me that I still am every day trying to focus on, okay, I am micromanaging in this aspect of things. I'm micromanaging there. And I'm not sure I'm ever going to arrive at the point where I'm a great person at delegating to other people, but it's something I think is very important for me to realize about me as a business owner and as the head of the company. One of the ways I've learned to start to delegate is kind of put a financial stake on what my hourly pay should be. And so this happened when we were at an event over in Cincinnati, a kind of trade show event. It was the Cincinnati Coffee Fest. And my dad, who also has equity in our business, he's one of the three partners in our business, kind of was getting on me because I was stuck up in all the details. I was trying to brew the coffee in the back, and we're at a trade show, and I'm focused on making sure our product tastes as great as possible. And quite frankly, it's not that difficult to teach someone how to brew a good cup of coffee. That's something that you should be able to teach. I mean, there's plenty of coffee shops with baristas that are so much more knowledgeable than me. And so kind of learning that what are my specialties, and really focusing on my three key areas. And I kind of stole this idea from a book. It's called The Entrepreneurship Roller Coaster. And it's really kind of stuck out to me, the aspect of you really have only time for a couple key things. And so my thing should be focusing on coffee control and coffee quality. And then one thing that every owner needs to be able to do is sell their product. And so, and there's other areas that I'm great at too, but you can delegate those and pass those along, but not just delegating. Delegating is important, but moreover, I guess, giving someone else the tool, the aspect to really shine where their skill set is as well. So learning that AJ might be a lot better at using social media. And so is it really worth my time to sit there and really try to micromanage every little thing of our social media when he's a lot better than I am? And so basically, and that kind of goes back to the aspect of social or entrepreneurship, the aspect of really letting everyone inside the company feel that they have the tools and the creativity to do what they want for the betterment of the unit as a whole. And so that's the thing that I really am passionate about, is making sure that everyone kind of feels that they have a part in growing this business together, and that it's not just one person at the head of it and then everyone else kind of working to better that company for that person.
That's great. We are running a little short on time. We've really enjoyed having this conversation with you. Chris, is there anything that you want to add or feel you want to put in before we go?
No, I just really enjoy talking to you, Daniel, and just so impressed by what you guys have been able to do with the company in a short amount of time. And I think we'd like to have you and AJ on potentially in a future show and find out where you are and how you've overcome this crisis and where you're headed.
Certainly.
So
just beware, if you bring both AJ and I on, you might have a pretty long time limit. You will find ways to extend that time limit. So
you might need to do 30 or 45 minutes rather than 15.
Yeah. I think you said it really well, Daniel. If you have an idea for a business, go after it. just don't put it off. Figure out those small steps in order to take it. We want to thank you so much for Daniel for being on the show today. We wish you the most luck in the future. And we want to thank you for taking a couple of minutes out of your day to check us out and watch this podcast. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you will join us again in our next episode.